Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Tips. I am Dr. Coffey, and I am bringing to you today someone to help us out with our Free-Throw-A-Thon by giving us tips. It is a naturopathic physician and a certified nutrition specialist. So she'll be giving us some great tips on how we can be successful in our Coach Joe Free-Throw-A-Thon, which, by the way, is September 9th through the 17th. So if you haven't already, make sure you register at extreme with an X ballers.com/fun. That's extremeballers.com/fun. The winner will get $500. And the way to win the $500 is the most attempts. No. It's the most free throws you get out of 100 attempts. So be sure to register because I'm sure you can do some things with $500. So let's see what Dr. Bethany has for us today. I am bringing her on stage. Dr. B.
Hello, how are you?
I am well. How about yourself?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you here. I have shared with my audience that you are a naturopathic physician and a certified nutritionist. So I know you're doing some amazing things right now. But before we get into that, I want to take us back. I also know you played basketball.
Yes.
So, and you played in college. But with most people who played basketball in college, the athletic career started before college. So that's how far I want to go back.
Okay.
So take us all the way back to the beginning of your athletic career, and then just bring us forward and to where you are today, to how you became Dr. Bethany Tennant.
Oh, wow. Well, if I were to go all the way back, I am reminded, I know you posted on Instagram at one point about like a basketball hoop in the driveway. And you're like, who else grew up and, that's where you practice. So that's where I started. I have two older brothers. I have a younger sister, but my older brothers loved sports, but they loved basketball. And so I was sort of by default exposed to, it was Sports Center every morning. And, for Christmas, they were getting the Michael Jordan videos of Michael Jordan's Playground, Come Fly With Me. So I was just, exposed to it in a way that also made me excited about the sport. So I would try to hang out with them and keep up with them and shoot in the driveway. And I would say I didn't really have opportunities to play organized basketball till I was probably in 4th grade. So it was mostly just recreational outdoor courts, just playing and shooting and working on, skills and drills. I remember having books, even like 5-star camps, if anyone remembers them, of just like dribbling drills to practice and layup skills. And so it was definitely self-driven until I found coaches and other opportunities to grow in the sport. So I played, I did have a chance to play in like AU and camps, and summertime always makes me think of like camps and tournaments. And I used to look forward to camps so much. And I was able to play in college in part because of going to some camps where there was exposure opportunities and that led to some scholarship opportunities. So I ended up playing in college. And while I was in college, I was also a pre-med student. So I love, if anyone is interested in what that experience is, I definitely was, I always joke that I was like the nerd on the basketball bus, working on my chemistry projects. And then I was kind of like the jock in organic chemistry lab with my backpack, like ready to go to practice once we were done. So it was definitely a great experience, but it was a lot to try and to do both of those things. And then after college, I had opportunities to travel internationally a little bit. I did the Peace Corps. I did some other sort of aid and support travel and opportunities. And what I always found in other countries was that sport was such a cool common language. So being able to often have soccer or play basketball and connect, and that always was something that I felt like special connection to sport. I'm now in Portland, Oregon, and during medical school, I started reconnecting to the sport in a way that I kind of started applying what I was learning with like nutrition and health and medicine, and had opportunities to work with some youth and even professional basketball players. And so it's been, it's been a common theme throughout. It's been something that I love the game, I love the sport, and it's always just such a privilege to work with athletes and supporting them and their goals, and oftentimes helping them support them playing at like the next level, whether that means making the varsity team, trying to get to college, or get on that pro team.
Awesome. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about in working with athletes is helping them build their confidence and to stay focused. So no matter what level you're on, if your confidence is not high, you have to build it up. And that's totally possible. So share with our viewers how you built your confidence, or how you maintain your confidence from starting out in rec ball all the way to college ball.
That's such a good question. I think, it's not that you gain confidence and then you're like set for life. At every level, you find it's humbling. I grew up in from upstate New York, but it was a small town. And so you kind of were, being at a top athlete at that level, and then getting to the next, you feel like maybe some confidence because of, it's easy to gain confidence by comparison, but I think true confidence is really like putting in the time to be able to trust yourself in situations and trust your skills and your, the effort that you've put in, I think is really what matters. Because I think oftentimes, then going from small school to the next level, everyone that's playing in college was the best player on their team, And so you have a new sort of perspective on yourself, and that can be really hard. And I think for me, it was continuing to just show up and put in work, and then also having encouragement from coaches, when oftentimes when it's your first year, whether it's your first year on the JV team, a varsity team, or a college team, you kind of have to know that your role is to work really hard in practice to make other players better and to eventually earn your time. But you probably aren't going to get as much time as you hoped. That's like, a common experience. And so you kind of have to level set to own that role and to gain confidence in, just putting in the time, and that, eventually having opportunities to show up.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that you said that I want to repeat, because I want to make sure the viewers heard you, because it's super important, is your confidence level evolves. So you may have confidence on one level and you're doing really great with it, but when you graduate or move to the next level, the confidence may waver just a little bit. So just know that that's okay, and it's just a time for you to stay in motion and to continue to build your confidence, because it's not a one and done. You do a few exercises, my confidence is good, and you're done. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Yes, and the other thing that I'm passionate about, and especially in the beginning phases, is teaching the athletes how to focus. As most of you know, I've written 2 books, and the first one was on building confidence, and the second one was to focus like a champion, because I think that's kind of the foundation of moving from one section to the next. And the other thing that I'm excited about, once you buy my book, and if you listen to these Tuesday tips, you're getting additional information from people who have actually done it. So that kind of enhanced the work that you would actually do in the workbook. So Dr. B, share with us how you maintain your focus and how you were able to really focus to move from one level to the next. And the other thing about sharing your focus experience was, you were a med student. A med student playing basketball, that's a lot. That's a lot. So share with us your focus journey.
Focused journey. So I think that that's so interesting to consider even. I think it's it's being able to have like a big picture in mind, but then having those small steps was what helped me focus. And one example that comes to mind was when it comes to basketball was I think maybe when I was like eighth grade or going into ninth grade was sort of understanding like, okay, I need to expand my ability to shoot the ball and be more of an offensive threat. So I need to be able to shoot 3-pointers. And so learning like, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on as a skill to acquire to grow in my game. And so I felt like that comes to mind as having something like specific helps me focus, but knowing that, ultimately the goal is, to get here, but these small steps will help you get there. And similarly, I think what's helpful when it comes to, for me, for school is that you have like a curriculum and this is your schedule and this is what you have to do and when you have to do it. And so I think being really good at managing my time became something I had to do. So to my point of like, I had to use time on the bus sometimes to study physics. And, I just had to be able to know when I had to use my time for, specific tasks to be able to be successful. And so those things come to mind. I would say like specific steps and time management are big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. B and I, we met in 2018. She was doing a platform for an event that had an event at a showcase games. So she had a panel with different experts or different people on the panel, and she was looking for a sports psychologist, and she found me. So in putting this together, I mean, she was just like a super nice person. And then when I got to the event, of course I was nervous, but she was just so calm and nice and everything. It made me feel, really good. And she put the panel together and everything was really smooth. It was professionally ran. It was just awesome. So I just kind of started liking Dr. B just because she was a nice person. And at the time, I didn't know she was Dr. Bethany Tennant. I just knew her as Bethany. So here again, like I said, I just kind of connected because, she's such a nice person, easy to talk to, made me feel comfortable and welcome. Then as I got to know her, I realized that she was a physician. It was like, oh, wow, she's a physician. Okay. And then not only, because when you think of a physician, you automatically think of medical. So, that's what I thought. And then come to find out she's a naturopathic doctor, and then she do nutrition. So I was like totally hooked because that's my area. I'm all about the natural well-being. And then to add on to it, she's doing it with athletes. I'm like, this lady is awesome.
So talk.
So we just stay connected and just continue to support each other.
Yes.
So Dr. B, tell us about what you're doing now, because I just think it's super, super awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. That's so kind. And you were also so kind because I just was Googling and Dr. Coffey showed up as someone that was doing sports psychology. And so I just called her out of the blue and you answered, and we're very open to, being a part of the performance panel. And so it's been fun to also, support each other's journey and see what we're creating. So in college, I was a pre-med student, which means I was taking classes to be able to go to medical school. So I was considering medical school. And one thing that I had always been interested in was nutrition and kind of understanding more. Sometimes people call it complementary or integrative. Now it's even considered more like functional medicine. But I always was intrigued by that component. And so I had to do a little bit more exploration around what are some work opportunities. So at the time, I didn't really have anyone telling me, this is how you do it. But I had heard about naturopathic medicine. Actually, when I was a senior in high school, I did a program where we would rotate throughout the hospital and do different rotations for half of our day. And it was an excellent experience to have exposure to different parts of healthcare and to know from everything from custodial to understanding we would do stuff with a physical therapist or an internal medicine doctor to surgeries. So being able to see everything, I realized I like this, I like this, I like this. Is there anything that puts those things together? And that's when the supervisor actually mentioned, she said, oh, have you ever heard of naturopathic medicine? And when I looked into it, I realized that it was a whole person approach, getting to the root cause of a problem. And what I often think about is having more tools in the toolbox. So not just pharmaceuticals, but also nutrition and botanical medicine, physical medicine, like a chiropractor. And that just really intrigued me. So when I was in college, I was kind of still considering it, but it took me doing some exploration and finding someone that was practicing to learn a little bit more about what it looked like in real life, to have a practice and see patients. And for me, that was sort of the encouragement that I needed to say, like, this is exactly what I want to do. And one of the things the doctor mentioned was, one thing I ask my patients is I ask about, going to the bathroom, but I ask about sleep and I ask about stress. And I thought, no doctor has ever asked me those things. And wow, those things really matter. And that kind of made the connection that it resonated as something that the type of care that I would want to offer. And so I came out to naturopathic medical school here in Portland, and now I have a license, so I practice, and I am a primary care physician here in this state. And this is the clinic, so I'm going to be seeing patients here shortly. And so I see 4-year-olds to 90-year-olds, and it can be anything. But what I also get to do is work with athletes. And so sometimes it's helping them if they've had any injuries or recover from surgeries. For some elite athletes, sometimes it's trying to gain muscle or body composition, or maybe it's, managing asthma and allergies and how that's impacting how they're performing. So I'm still, learning how to best help athletes, but I love being able to be a part of that journey and applying that naturopathic medicine to performance.
That is awesome and much needed, because most athletes don't think about it as a holistic approach, and the nutrition part of things and the health part of things. So that you're doing great work. So I applaud you. Just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So as we move forward and get ready for the Coach Joe Free-Throw-A-Thon, which is September 9th through the 17th, give our viewers some tips on how they can be successful in the Free-Throw-A-Thon.
So I love free throws. But what I think I like about it is that what I would say is one thing that I often see is just switching up routines all the time when you get to the line. And so I would say, find the routine that not just, do what LeBron James does, but do what really feels good for you to get you in the space that, that you feel confident and comfortable. So, and whether it's spinning the ball or a certain number of dribbles, whatever it is, find your own routine. And then I think this is kind of connected to the work that you do, but I think about it from a nervous system standpoint, is taking a breath before you take a shot sometimes is such a great way to just calm and focus. So breath work is something that I help with patients when we're thinking about managing stress, anxiety, but in sport and performance, it's a great way to really dial in and focus. So those would be my 2 tips to kind of explore, just to find your routine and be consistent with it, and then consider taking a breath before you take your shot.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you all have any questions for Dr. B, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure she get those questions. And especially if you're interested in nutrition and supplements and things of that nature, more on the athletic side of things, be sure to reach out. She has some great information to share with you. And Dr. B, I want to thank you again for joining us, and I'm pretty sure our path will cross again.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And it's exciting to see all the ways that you are supporting athletes and creating opportunities. So keep doing good work yourself.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
All right, everyone. That's another take on Tuesday Tips with Dr. Coffey, and feel free to email, text me any questions that you may have. And once again, don't forget to register for the Coach Joe Free-Throw-A-Thon, which is September the 9th through the 17th. You can register at extremeballers.com/fun. Take good care. Bye for now.